The desperate summons. The stars were dying. Not in the slow, graceful way that astrophysicists had charted for billions of years. The gradual cooling of stellar bodies. The gentle fade into darkness. No, this was something else entirely. Something wrong. The stars of the meridian sector simply disappeared. One moment, entire solar systems blazed with light and life. The next, there was only void. Not darkness. Darkness implied the absence of light. This was the absence of everything. Archon Velthara stood at the observation deck of the luminary spire, her 6 elegant limbs folded in a posture of deep contemplation. Through the crystalline viewport, she watched the last transmissions from Meridian Prime flicker and die. Her species, the Kai-Tharen, had witnessed the birth and death of stars for 8,000 cycles. They had mastered gravity, bent spacetime to their will, and created wonders that defied the laws of physics as lesser species understood them. But they had never seen anything like this. Archon. The voice belonged to Sage Coordinator Ixfan, a being of pure energy, contained within a geometric lattice of exotic matter. His form pulsed with anxious orange light. The third wave has begun. Corellis system is gone. Velthara's primary eyes closed slowly. Corellis, home to 14 billion Zinthari, a civilization of artists and philosophers, a species that had transformed 3 moons into living canvases, painting with bioluminescent organisms that created images visible from space. All of that beauty, all of those souls, erased in the span of 37 minutes. Convene the High Council, she said quietly. Emergency Protocol Omega. Ixfan's lattice flickered with surprise. In 8,000 years of the Luminary Alliance's existence, Omega Protocol had never been invoked. Not during the crystalline plague, not during the dimensional cascade, not even during the brief, terrible moment when the Alliance had discovered the ruins of the precursors and realized they were not the first great civilization, and that something had destroyed their predecessors. Archon, you cannot mean... I mean exactly what I say, Sage Coordinator. We are facing extinction. The High Council chamber was a marvel of unified architecture, built by 17 different species working in perfect harmony. The floor was living crystal from Zenthar, constantly shifting to display star maps and tactical data. The walls were grown from the singing trees of Avalonis, their branches humming with soft bioluminescence. The ceiling was open to space itself, protected by Kai-Tharen gravity manipulation that allowed the council members to gaze upon the very stars they sought to protect. Except now, there were fewer stars to see. Velthara took her position at the central dais, looking out at the assembled representatives. There was War Master Krell of the Dreadnoughts, his massive exoskeleton scarred from centuries of peacekeeping operations. Beside him floated High Curator Sylphnara of the Whisperkin, her translucent form barely visible even in the chamber's soft light. The Torg delegation stood silent and immovable, their crystalline bodies refracting light in complex patterns that served as their language. 17 species. 8,000 years of peace, a golden age of art, science, and philosophy, and now perhaps the end of all things. We are here because we are dying, Velthara began without preamble. The chamber fell silent. Even the singing trees ceased their melody. In the past 42 solar cycles, we have lost 9 star systems to the entities we have designated as the Void Harvesters. Total casualties, 63 billion souls. Total defensive victories, 0. She gestured, and the living crystal floor erupted with images, worlds being consumed by impossible geometries. Ships, the most advanced vessels in the galaxy, simply ceasing to exist when they encountered the Harvesters. Weapons that could crack planets having no effect whatsoever on the entities. They do not communicate, continued Ixfan, his form pulsing with rapid data streams. They do not negotiate. They do not even register as life by any metric we possess. They are antithesis. Where they pass, reality itself is consumed. Matter, energy, space-time, all devoured and replaced by nothing. War Master Krell stood, his voice a deep rumble that resonated through the chamber. We are not defenseless. The Alliance has defense fleets, planetary shields, weapons that have failed. Velthara interrupted gently. War Master, I respect your optimism, but we must face the truth. Our weapons were designed for peacekeeping, for deterrence, for the theoretical conflicts that never came. We have had 8,000 years without war. 8,000 years without the need to innovate in the art of destruction. She paused, her words hanging heavy in the air. We have forgotten how to fight. A ripple of unease passed through the chamber. The Whisperkin representative shimmered with distress. The Torg delegation's crystalline patterns showed geometric fractals of anxiety. High Scholar Minsera of the Verdant Collective spoke, her voice soft and measured. Archon, what are you proposing? We cannot simply relearn warfare in the time we have left. The harvesters move too quickly. At their current rate of advancement, they will reach the core systems in less than 200 cycles. Velthara's secondary eyes opened, fixing on each council member in turn. I am proposing that we contact the one species in the galaxy that never forgot how to fight, the one species we have observed from a distance, studied with academic fascination and existential dread, the species that, in their brief 400 years of spaceflight capability, have simulated more scenarios of interstellar warfare than all Alliance species combined across our entire recorded history. The chamber erupted. Madness. You would doom us all. They are barely past their nuclear age. The quarantine protocols exist for a reason. Velthara raised a limb and silence gradually returned. I would have humanity's help. War Master Krell's exoskeleton seemed to tighten. The humans. You would invoke them? I would offer them the stars in exchange for our survival. Ixvin moved closer to Velthara, his lattice pulsing with urgent amber light. Archon, the humans are a Category 7 aggressive species. They have been under observational quarantine for precisely that reason. In the time we have studied them, they have fought 2 global thermonuclear wars, 14 major planetary conflicts, and have maintained standing militaries even in peacetime. Their entertainment consists largely of simulated violence. Their philosophy is built on concepts of struggle and conquest. They are everything we are not, Velthara finished. Yes, precisely. High Scholar Minsera stepped forward, her leaves rustling with agitation. 800 years ago, we witnessed the humans split the atom. Do you remember what they did with that knowledge? They built weapons that could end their own species, and they pointed them at each other. And yet they survived, Velthara noted quietly. Barely, by sheer fortune and the wisdom of a handful of their leaders. Archon, humans are dangerous, dangerously creative, dangerously aggressive, dangerously unpredictable. There is a reason we have kept them contained to their home system. A reason we have prevented them from discovering faster-than-light travel on their own. Because we feared what they might do with it, Velthara agreed. We feared they would bring chaos to our ordered galaxy. We feared their wars, their violence, their relentless drive to conquer and expand. She gestured again and the floor crystal shifted. Now it showed something different, humanity's solar system. A small yellow star with 8 planets. One blue world teeming with life. We feared them so much that we made them our galaxy's greatest secret. A species quarantined not because they were weak, but because they were too strong, too volatile, too good at the one thing we hoped never to need again. The images changed. Human vessels, primitive by Alliance standards but bristling with weapons. Human soldiers training in combat scenarios. Human scientists developing ever more efficient methods of destruction. For 8,000 years we have had peace. We built that peace on philosophy, on cooperation, on the shared belief that violence was beneath us. We became enlightened. We transcended our warlike pasts. We grew soft. Velthara's voice hardened. The harvesters do not care about our enlightenment. They do not respect our philosophy. They are not deterred by our 8 millennia of peace. They are ending us, and we have no answer because we chose to forget the language of violence. But humans, she paused. Humans never forgot. They speak it fluently. It is their native tongue. You're proposing we hand faster-than-light technology to a species that has been isolated precisely to prevent them from having it, War Master Krell said slowly. You would give them the galaxy. I would trade the galaxy for existence, Velthara replied. A galaxy ruled by humans is still a galaxy. What the harvesters offer is oblivion. The silence that followed was profound. Finally, High Scholar Minsera spoke, her voice barely a whisper. And if we survive the harvesters only to find ourselves enslaved by humanity? What then? Velthara turned to face the open ceiling, gazing at the diminished stars. Then we will have traded one death for another. But at least we will have tried. At least we will have fought. And if nothing else, We will have given the humans a chance to prove they are more than their violence, that they can be heroes as well as warriors. She turned back to the council. We have a choice. We can die with our principles intact, our philosophy unblemished, our 8,000 years of peace unmarred by the decision I propose. Or we can bend our pride, swallow our fear, and ask for help from the one species we deemed too dangerous to join us. The vote, when it came, was not unanimous, but it was sufficient. 3 cycles later, a message was prepared. It contained the following: a distress call, a plea for aid, coordinates to the luminary core systems, and an offer: the secrets of faster-than-light travel, anti-gravity manipulation, and zero-point energy generation, technologies that would catapult humanity centuries ahead of their current development. The price: come to the defense of the Luminary Alliance against the Void Harvesters. Velthara herself encoded the final message. As she prepared to transmit it across the vast emptiness toward the Sol system, Ixvin appeared beside her. You know what you are doing, Archon? You are potentially ending one age of the galaxy and beginning another. I know. The humans may refuse. They may not even believe the message. They will believe, Velthara said with certainty, because they have been looking at the stars and dreaming of this moment since they first gazed upward from their caves. We fear first contact with them. They have been waiting for it. And if they answer, if they come, Velthara was quiet for a long moment. Then the Void Harvesters will learn what the Alliance learned 8,000 years ago. What every species in the galaxy knows. There are forces in the universe that cannot be reasoned with, cannot be escaped, cannot be defeated by philosophy alone. The Harvesters are one such force. She activated the transmission, and humanity is another. The message streaked away at faster-than-light speeds, crossing the vast expanse between the Alliance core systems and a small blue planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. A planet where a young, aggressive, endlessly curious species was about to receive the invitation that would change everything. On Earth, at precisely 347 hours Greenwich Mean Time, the Deep Space Monitoring Station in New Mexico detected an anomalous signal. Dr. Sarah Chen, working the night shift, stared at her screen in disbelief. The signal was complex, mathematical, clearly artificial. It was also coming from a point in space 847 light-years away, and had arrived instantaneously. That was impossible. Unless, with trembling hands, Dr. Chen reached for the red phone. This is DSMS-7, she said, her voice shaking. I need to speak with the Secretary General immediately. We just received a message from someone out there. She paused, staring at the decoded data flooding her screens. And they're asking for help. When humanity arrives, the United Earth Assembly Hall had never been so quiet. Representatives from every nation sat in stunned silence, their eyes fixed on the holographic display that dominated the center of the chamber. The alien message played on loop. Mathematical proofs of faster-than-light travel, star charts showing the location of the Luminary Alliance, and, most compelling of all, visual records of entire solar systems being consumed by the Void Harvesters. General Sarah Okonkwo stood at the podium, her uniform crisp despite having been awake for 36 hours straight. Behind her, Dr. James Morrison from MIT and Admiral Viktor Kozlov of the Russian Space Command waited their turn to speak. Ladies and gentlemen, Okonkwo began, her Nigerian accent carrying clearly through the hall's acoustics. 72 hours ago, humanity was alone in the universe. Today, we know we are not. We have been contacted by an alliance of 17 alien species, some of whom have been spacefaring for longer than human civilization has existed. The hologram shifted, showing the translated message in multiple languages. They are asking for our help. Specifically, they are asking for our military help. In exchange, they offer us technology that would advance our species by centuries, faster than light travel. Clean, unlimited energy, gravitational manipulation, medical advances that could eliminate disease and extend human lifespan indefinitely. A murmur rippled through the assembly. The Chinese delegate stood. General Okonkwo, with respect, why would these advanced beings need our help? If they possess such technology, surely their military capabilities far exceed our own. Dr. Morrison stepped forward, adjusting his glasses. That's the fascinating part, Ambassador Lin. They don't have military capabilities. Not in any meaningful sense. The Luminary Alliance has been at peace for 8,000 years. Their defensive fleets are designed for deterrence and peacekeeping. They've never actually fought a war. And we have. The delegate from Brazil spoke up. Dr. Morrison, humanity has never fought an interstellar war either. No, Admiral Kozlov interjected, his voice a deep rumble. But we have never stopped preparing for one. Since the dawn of the atomic age, we have been simulating space combat, developing theoretical weapons, planning for conflicts among the stars. It is in our nature. We are a species that has been honing the art of warfare for 10,000 years. He paused, letting that sink in. These aliens have forgotten how to fight. We never learned how to stop. The implications hung heavy in the air. The Indian delegate rose. And what assurance do we have that this isn't a trap? That we won't travel to their space only to be enslaved or destroyed? General Okonkwo pulled up another hologram. Detailed schematics of the FTL drive the aliens had transmitted. None whatsoever, Ambassador Patel. But consider this. If they wanted to destroy us, they've had the technology to do so for centuries. They've been watching us. They know where we are. If hostile intent was their goal, we would already be gone. So we trust them out of logic, the French delegate said dryly. We trust them because they're desperate, Okonkwo corrected. No civilization contacts a species they've deliberately quarantined for 800 years, unless they have no other choice. They're terrified of us, Ambassador Beaumont. That much is clear from their message. But they're more terrified of what's killing them. The hologram changed again, showing the footage of a harvester consuming a planet. The assembly watched in horror as the world simply ceased to exist. No explosion, no debris, just nothing. That is what we face if we answer their call, Dr. Morrison said quietly. An enemy that defies our understanding of physics. An enemy that has defeated every weapon the Alliance has deployed against it. An enemy that may be utterly unbeatable. Then why should we go? Someone shouted from the back. Admiral Kozlov smiled grimly. Because they said may be unbeatable, not is unbeatable. And because if we don't, those things will eventually come here. The harvesters are consuming the galaxy system by system. Eventually they will reach Sol. Better to fight them there with allies and advanced technology than to wait for them to arrive at our doorstep. General Okonkwo raised her hand for silence. The decision before this assembly is unprecedented. Do we venture into the unknown? To fight a war that isn't ours for beings we've never met? Or do we remain here, safe for now, and hope that whatever is destroying the galaxy will pass us by? She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegates from every corner of Earth. I cannot make this decision alone. No single nation can. This must be humanity's choice made together. For the first time in our history, we must speak with one voice. The debate lasted 18 hours. In the end, the vote was near unanimous. Humanity would answer the call. 6 months later, Orbital Shipyard Gamma, Earth Orbit Captain. Maya Chen had dreamed of commanding a starship since she was 7 years old, watching old science fiction shows with her grandfather in Beijing. She had imagined sleek vessels exploring distant worlds, making first contact with alien species, boldly going where no human had gone before. She had not imagined this. The UES Indomitable stretched before her like a floating city of steel and fury, 3 kilometers long, bristling with weapon systems that combined human ingenuity with alien technology in ways that made even her weapons officers nervous. Railguns that could accelerate projectiles to a significant fraction of light speed, missile batteries loaded with fusion warheads, point defense lasers powered by zero-point energy reactors, and, most terrifying of all, the experimental gravitational disruptors, weapons that could theoretically tear spacetime itself. She's beautiful, said Commander Marcus Webb, her executive officer as they stood in the observation lounge watching the final construction drones complete their work. She's terrifying, Maya corrected. We built a warship, Marcus. Not an explorer. Not a research vessel. A ship designed for one purpose, to kill things we've never even seen. Around them, the rest of Earth's first expeditionary fleet took shape. 37 vessels in total. Carriers, destroyers, frigates, support ships. An entire battle group built in 6 months through the unprecedented cooperation of every nation on Earth. Chinese manufacturing, American weapons systems, Russian engineering, European AI integration, African resource coordination, South American logistics. For the first time in human history, the planet had united behind a single goal. It should have been a moment of pride. Instead, Maya felt a cold knot of dread in her stomach. Captain. Her communications officer, Lieutenant Amara Okoye, approached with a tablet. Final crew manifest is in. 15,000 personnel across the fleet, best and brightest from every nation, every service branch. We've got astrophysicists who can double as gunners, linguists trained in combat tactics, and medical officers who've trained with special forces. We turned scientists into soldiers, Maya said quietly. We turned humanity into what it needed to be. Marcus replied. The aliens asked for warriors. We're giving them warriors who can think. The next morning, Maya stood on the bridge of the Indomitable as the fleet prepared for departure. Every major news network on Earth was broadcasting the moment. An estimated 4 billion people were watching. General Okonkwo's voice came through on the command frequency. Fleet Commander Chen, you are authorized to depart on my mark. Your mission is clear. Rendezvous with the Luminary Alliance, assess the threat, and provide whatever assistance is necessary to stop the Void Harvesters. You carry with you the hopes of all humanity. Maya took a deep breath. Understood, General. Fleet Command, this is Indomitable. All vessels report readiness status. One by one, the 37 ships of humanity's first interstellar fleet reported ready. Then let's make history, Maya said. Helm engage FTL drive. Destination, Luminary Core Systems. May whatever gods are listening watch over us. The alien technology hummed to life. Space twisted, reality bent, and in an instant that felt like eternity, the fleet vanished from Earth orbit. They emerged 847 light-years away, in a region of space that no human had ever seen. Jesus Christ, breathed Lieutenant Okoye. Through the viewports, they could see it. A massive structure orbiting a binary star system easily twice the size of Earth's moon. The Luminary Spire, capital of the Alliance. But that wasn't what had stolen Okoye's breath. It was the ships, thousands of them, vessels of impossible designs, some that looked like living organisms, others like geometric crystals, still others that seemed to be made of pure light contained in force fields. The entire Luminary fleet assembled and waiting. They've been expecting us, Marcus said. Incoming transmission, Okoye reported. Audio and visual. Oh my God, Captain. They're beautiful. The main screen flickered to life, showing Archon Velthara. Her 6 limbs moved with fluid grace. Her eyes, all 4 of them, regarded the human crew with an expression that universal body language translated as cautious relief. When she spoke, the translation software rendered her words into flawless English. Captain Chen of the vessel Indomitable, on behalf of the Luminary Alliance, I welcome you to our space. We are grateful beyond words that you answered our call. Maya stood, straightening her uniform. Archon Velthara, I presume? I'm Captain Maya Chen, Fleet Commander of Earth's Expeditionary Force. We received your message. We're here to help. Velthara's limbs folded in what the translation software labeled as profound relief mixed with trepidation. Your arrival may have saved us all, Captain. Though I confess, when I sent that message, I did not expect. She gestured at the view screen, which was displaying tactical data on the human fleet. This level of military readiness in such a short time frame. You built these vessels in less than 200 cycles? 6 months, Maya confirmed. When humanity decides to do something, Archon, we don't do it halfway. You asked for our help. We're prepared to give it. A new figure appeared on the screen. Sage Coordinator Ixfan, his energy lattice pulsing with rapid calculations. Captain Chen, our sensors are detecting weapon systems on your vessels that, frankly, we don't entirely understand. The power signatures alone are concerning. What exactly have you brought to our space? Maya exchanged a glance with Marcus before responding. Archon, you contacted us because you needed warriors, correct? People who understand conflict, who know how to fight. Yes, but then understand this. We've analyzed the data you sent about the Void Harvesters. We've run thousands of combat simulations. We've consulted with every military strategist, physicist, and theoretical weapons designer on our planet. The arsenal we've brought represents humanity's best educated guess at what might work against an enemy that defies conventional physics. She paused. You've been fighting defensively, trying to shield your worlds and retreat from the harvesters. That's not how humans fight wars, Archon. We don't wait for the enemy to come to us. We take the fight to them. We adapt, we improvise, and we hit them with everything we've got, until we find something that works. The Alien Council. Members on the screen exchanged glances that the translation software couldn't quite interpret. You are proposing an offensive strategy. War Master Krell rumbled, his massive form leaning into view. Against an enemy that has proven invulnerable to every weapon we possess? I'm proposing that we find out if they're truly invulnerable, Maya replied. Because in my experience, War Master, everything can be killed. You just need to find the right way to do it. 3 days later, the threshold system, the briefing room aboard the Indomitable, was packed with both human and alien officers. Maya stood at the holographic display which showed a star system at the edge of Alliance space. The threshold, so named because it was the last line of defense before the harvesters reached the core systems. Intel from Alliance scouts indicates the harvesters will arrive here within 48 hours, Maya explained, manipulating the hologram to show predicted approach vectors. This is where we make our stand. Archon Velthara, attending via holographic link from the Luminary Spire, spoke carefully. Captain Chen, I must advise caution. Every fleet we have sent against the harvesters has been consumed. We have lost thousands of ships and millions of crew members. The harvesters do not engage in combat as we understand it. They simply erase whatever opposes them. Then it's a good thing we don't understand combat the way you do, Marcus interjected. Archon, with respect, your species has been at peace for 8,000 years. Your weapons are designed to disable and deter. Ours are designed to destroy absolutely. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the fleet's chief science officer, pulled up new data. We've been analyzing the sensor records from your encounters with the harvesters. They appear to exist partially outside normal spacetime, which explains why your conventional weapons have no effect. But that dimensional displacement requires enormous energy that has to come from somewhere. You believe they can be disrupted? Ixfin's lattice pulsed with interest. We believe they can be forced back into normal space, Tanaka confirmed. If we can overwhelm their dimensional anchoring with enough gravitational distortion, they might become vulnerable to conventional weapons. It's a theory, but it's the best we have. Maya brought up the battle plan. We're dividing the fleet into 3 groups. Alpha Group, led by the Indomitable, will engage the harvesters directly with gravitational disruptors. Beta Group will form a perimeter with long-range railguns and missiles. If we can force the harvesters into normal space, Beta will hit them with everything we've got. Gamma Group is our reserve, ready to exploit any openings or cover any retreats. She looked at the assembled officers, human and alien alike. I won't lie to you. This is going to be dangerous. We're fighting an enemy we don't understand, using tactics we've never tested with weapons that are largely theoretical. Some of us may not come back. She paused, meeting each person's eyes. But if we do nothing, the harvesters will consume everything. Every world, every civilization, every dream and hope of every sentient being in this galaxy. They've been advancing unopposed because no one has had the courage or the insanity to actually fight back. Well, humanity showed up, and we didn't come here to watch civilizations die. We came here to fight. The human officers straightened in their seats. The alien representatives exchanged glances, their various forms of body language conveying a mix of admiration and deep concern. Captain Chen, Velthara said slowly, I begin to understand why we kept your species isolated. You are not speaking of defense. You are speaking of war. Maya smiled grimly. Archon, you asked us to save the galaxy. War is what we brought. 47 hours later, the threshold system, they came from nowhere. One moment, the sensors showed empty space. The next, reality itself seemed to tear open, and the void harvesters emerged. My God, whispered Lieutenant Okoye, staring at her screens. They're wrong. Everything about them is wrong. She was right. The harvesters defied visual description. They existed at the edges of perception, shapes that the human brain couldn't quite process, geometries that shouldn't exist, colors that had no name. They moved through space like cancer through flesh, leaving trails of absolute nothing in their wake. All ships, this is Fleet Command, Maya announced, her voice steady despite the primal fear crawling up her spine. Execute Operation Hammer. Alpha Group advance to engagement range. Let's see if these things can be hurt. The Indomitable and her escort vessels accelerated forward. Behind them, the Luminary Alliance fleet hung back. Observers who had seen this scenario play out too many times, always with the same horrific result. The harvesters oriented toward the approaching human ships. Reality rippled around them. Gravitational disruptors online, reported Lieutenant Commander Sarah Park from Weapons Control. Captain, I'm reading massive spatial distortions around the harvesters. They're definitely operating partially outside our dimensional space. Then let's pull them back in, Maya said. All ships fire on my mark. Target the lead harvester. Maximum intensity, mark. The Indomitable unleashed hell. The gravitational disruptors were humanity's most experimental weapons. Devices that could manipulate space-time itself, creating localized gravity wells or even temporary micro-black holes. The technology had been deemed too dangerous for use in Earth's solar system. But this wasn't Earth's solar system. Space around the lead harvester twisted violently. The impossible geometry of its form flickered, stabilized, then flickered again. For the first time since the harvesters had appeared in Alliance space, one of them seemed to react, not with pain or fear, but with something that might have been surprise. It's working, Tanaka shouted from the science station. The dimensional anchoring is destabilizing. We're forcing it back into normal space. Beta Group, you're up, Maya commanded. Hit it with everything. 32 ships opened fire simultaneously. Railgun slugs traveling at relativistic speeds, fusion missiles, particle beams. Conventional explosives augmented with zero-point energy, a century's worth of human innovation in the art of destruction, all focused on a single target. The harvester shuddered. For the first time in the war against the Void Harvesters, an enemy ship took damage. Aboard the Luminary Spire, Archon Velthara watched in stunned disbelief. They're hurting it. By the ancestral light, breathed War Master Krell. The humans are actually fighting them. But the harvesters were not defenseless. The wounded entity rippled through space, and reality around the Indomitable began to distort. Maya felt her stomach lurch as the ship's artificial gravity flickered. Evasive maneuvers, Marcus shouted. All power to forward shields. The harvester's attack hit like a hammer blow from the universe itself. Systems failed across the ship. Hull breaches opened on decks 7 through 12. 14 crew members died instantly, their bodies and the very matter around them simply ceasing to exist. But the Indomitable held. And more importantly, humanity had proven something. The harvesters could be hurt. All ships scatter formation, Maya ordered, blood running from a cut on her forehead where she'd been thrown against her command chair. Don't let them target us. Keep moving, keep firing. We've got them on the back foot. Press the advantage. The battle that followed would be analyzed by military historians for centuries. The human fleet fought with a combination of discipline and controlled chaos that the Luminary Alliance had never seen. They took casualties, terrible casualties, but they never broke, never retreated. Every time a harvester destroyed a human ship, 2 more would move in to fill the gap, weapons blazing. The humans fought like they were defending their own homeworld. Fought with a ferocity born from thousands of years of warfare. Fought with the accumulated tactical knowledge of every conflict their species had ever endured. And slowly, impossibly, the harvesters began to retreat. Captain, Okoye's voice was shrill with excitement. The harvesters are withdrawing. They're pulling back into dimensional transit. Maya wiped blood from her eyes, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. 3 harvesters destroyed. 5 more damaged and retreating. The cost had been high. 7 human ships lost, nearly 3,000 dead, but they had done it. They had won. All ships, cease fire, Maya ordered, her voice hoarse. Let them go. We need to regroup, assess damage, and— Captain, Marcus interrupted, pointing at the communications console. We're receiving thousands of transmissions from the Luminary fleet. I think they're cheering. Maya pulled up the visual feeds and saw Alliance ships of every configuration performing what could only be described as victory maneuvers. On her main screen, Archon Velthara appeared. Her 4 eyes wide with emotions, the translation software labeled as awe, relief, and terror. Captain Chen, the Archon said slowly, in 8,000 years of Luminary history, no one has ever driven back the harvesters. What you just did should have been impossible. Maya looked around her bridge at the damage, at her exhausted crew, at the tactical display still showing the positions of her fallen ships. Archon, she said quietly, impossible is just another word for something we haven't figured out how to do yet. The harvesters aren't invincible. They're just difficult, and humanity has been specializing in difficult problems since we learned to make fire. She straightened in her command chair. You called for help. And we came. But understand this, we didn't come here to lose. We didn't come here to be heroes. We came here to win. And we will. Whatever it takes, however long it requires, we will drive the harvesters from this galaxy. She paused, then added with a slight smile. Because that's what we do. We're humanity. We don't know how to quit. Epilogue. 1 week later. The joint briefing between humanity and the Luminary Alliance was held aboard a neutral space station at the edge of the Threshold system. Representatives from all 17 Alliance species attended, along with officers from the human fleet. Archon Velthara stood before the assembly, her posture conveying complex emotions. 1 week ago, humanity entered our space. In that time, they have accomplished what we could not in 3 years of fighting the harvesters. They have proven that our enemy can be defeated. They have shown us that survival is possible. She paused, her eyes sweeping the room. But they have also reminded us of something we had forgotten: the cost of survival. The humans lost 3,000 souls in the Battle of Threshold, ships worth more than some of our planetary economies, resources that would take years to replace. And they did it without hesitation, without complaint, without asking for anything in return beyond the FTL technology we had already promised. Velthara turned to Maya, who stood at attention in her dress uniform. Captain Chen, I owe you and your species an apology. For 800 years, we kept humanity isolated because we feared what you might do with access to the galaxy. We saw your violence, your wars, your weapons, and we judged you unworthy of joining the community of civilized species. But we were wrong. Violence is not the absence of civilization. It is sometimes the price of defending it. Your species understands something we had forgotten: that peace must sometimes be protected by those willing to make war. That civilization survives not because everyone is peaceful, but because some are willing to fight for those who cannot. She performed the Kytheran gesture of deepest respect, all 6 limbs extended, exposing her most vulnerable areas. On behalf of the Luminary Alliance, I formally invite humanity to join our community, not as warriors for hire, not as mercenaries or soldiers, but as equals, as protectors, as the shield that guards the realms of the peaceful. The chamber erupted in affirmation, musical tones from the Whisperkin, crystalline harmonics from the Torg, deep rumbles from the Dreadnoughts. Maya stepped forward, and the room fell silent. Archon Velthara, members of the Luminary Alliance, we accept your invitation with humility and honor. But I need to make something clear. We didn't come here to conquer. We didn't come here to rule. We came here because you asked for help, and helping people who need it. That's also what humanity does. She looked around the chamber. You're right that we're good at war. We've had a lot of practice. But you know what we're even better at? Peace. We know the cost of war because we've paid it over and over. We know the value of peace because we fought so hard to achieve it. We're not just warriors. We're people who understand that war is only worth fighting if you're trying to build something better. She smiled. So yes, we'll help you defeat the harvesters. We'll teach you how to defend yourselves. We'll share our knowledge of warfare and tactics. But in exchange, you're going to teach us, show us your 8,000 years of art and philosophy, your sciences, your cultures, help us become not just better warriors but better beings. Maya extended her hand toward Velthara, a human gesture of partnership. Let's build something together. A galaxy where peace is maintained not through ignorance of violence, but through the choice to reject it, except when absolutely necessary. A galaxy where the warriors and the philosophers work side by side. Velthara studied the extended hand for a moment, then reached out with one of her own limbs, grasping Maya's hand in a grip that bridged 2 worlds. Together, the Archon agreed. A new age for the galaxy, one where the sword and the scholar walk the same path. As the chamber erupted in celebration, Maya looked out the viewport at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, the harvesters were regrouping, adapting, preparing for the next confrontation. Let them come, she thought. Humanity had joined the galactic community, and whatever threats emerged from the darkness between stars, they would face them together. The age of isolation was over. The age of unity had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. The end.